Everyone seems to be crazy about love. Whoever we see, they talk a lot about love. People fall in love, they experience separations, their hearts get broken, they go through heartbreaks. So much happens. But in our lives, more than 3 times, and especially with 3 different kinds of people, we end up falling in love. Although I often say that love is a phenomenon that can happen to you 100 times. 100 times you can fall for anybody, but of course, falling in love is not in our control. But to nurture it, to read into it, to forget it, to take it to another stage, those things are in our hands. The occurrence itself is not. But making it grow is in our own hands. So in today's video, we'll talk about how many times in our lifetime we truly fall in love with people and what the effects of that are, and how these things come into our lives, and how our experiences lead us towards different directions. Salam, I am Dr. Tahira Rubab. Along with being a psychiatrist, I am also a relationship therapist. As I said, love is such a phenomenon that the whole world is surely crazy about it. Everybody in their whole life seeks love. That is, we are always in search of love. We need love. You will find very few people who don't need love. Of course, there are personalities which have different traits, so their needs are different. But normally, when we look at most people, we see that people are seeking love and they want to have it. But unfortunately, that true love is never really found by a person in that way. We see a lot of heartbreak. Many people do find it as well. Those who both fall in love and actually get it are very lucky people. And then they live together very happily. But normally, such things rarely happen. So, throughout our lifetime, we encounter 3 types of people, and our experiences happen with them. And there are 3 stages usually. These things are happening to us. These things also give us a different experience. First of all, the love that we have in our team. When we are in our teenage years, when we are going to college, then usually the reason is that you hear about your friend's love story or your best friend's love story somewhere or the other. These things are happening. Then this peer pressure comes to you. When this peer pressure is on you, unconsciously or consciously, you start thinking about it, and somewhere, whether you want to or not, you start getting involved in it. So first, peer pressure leads you in this direction when you are in your teens. And then the second thing is your hormonal surge. There are so many hormones in a person's body at that age. They are so fast and so intense that because of these hormones, you feel extremely emotional. Then you start getting attracted towards the opposite gender, your counterpart, whether male or female. You begin to feel drawn to them, and that interaction is happening because of hormonal pressure. We give it the name of love, and that process begins. Then there are Bollywood movies, the ideology they put in our minds about love, about emotional relationships, the stories about love that we've seen and heard. We experience all of that intensely at this stage. So you start living that. And the love that happens at this teenage stage is very caring, very devoted, very passionate, and very possessive. People go to extremes, even risking their lives. During that hard time, you are just obsessed with that person. The thought of that person dominates your mind, and your logic takes a back seat for a while. You just want to be with that person. You don't even think about whether this is really the person you want to spend your life with. You just try to be with them. You try to enjoy it, and then you also try to maintain that relationship. You make a lot of sacrifices. Sacrifices become very frequent. You start spending a lot of time on each other. And then sometimes we've seen that when people fall in love at this stage, usually you see failures in their career, education, and many other areas. But ultimately, because this is a very early age phenomenon, usually, not always, but usually after a certain time, it starts to fade away because a lot of bitterness creeps in. The second time a person falls in love is when they are at the stage of marriageable age, and at that point they realize that they truly need a partner, that they need someone in their life with whom they can plan their future, move forward, and make things better. Ultimately, this is the stage we call the hard stage of love. It's called hard love because when you fall in love at this stage, people have become a bit more logical, a bit more mature. Love is no longer unconditional. Conditions start to come into play. You start bargaining about what should be this way, what should be that way. It's not just that, you fall for that. It's not like you just instantly fall in love with someone. At this stage, you consider a lot of things. What is their status? What is their career? What is their education? What is their family background? You see everything, and then you start to plan your way into love. And as a result, sometimes the heartbreaks are much more intense. At this stage, it's very common because you might instantly start following someone, and after 5 or 6 months, you realize that this was just infatuation. You were attracted to their personality, to certain things about them, but after 5 or 6 months, those things fade away and you experience heartbreak. Of course, at this stage, people try to materialize a lot of materialistic things, which often doesn't work out. And we look at things like status and all that. When we get caught up in material things, that's actually not love. We still call it love, and then we try to live with that. In this, we experience heartbreaks with different kinds of people. Some of us encounter narcissists who never move beyond their own self-obsession. Some people are very abusive, from whom we experience verbal, physical, and emotional abuse. Some people are so caught up in their own self-pity, so full of self-sympathy, that whatever bad happens in their life, they start blaming others. This is why it's called hard love, because it involves so many experiences, and even your own heartbreak happens after 6 or 7 months. And then the problem is that you never actually realize what you learned from this encounter. You end up falling for the same kind of person again and again. You end up getting into relationships with similar kinds of people, and then you get similar results. And ultimately, you experience the same kind of heartbreak and sometimes even worse outcomes, but you don't evaluate them. What was the encounter you had? This situation that kept happening, because how are you supposed to improve yourself? This situation keeps repeating itself for you in the same way. And then when you are having this bad experience, this negative experience with people, when you go through such a bad experience with others, it has a negative effect on you, and you start having negative thoughts about people. So the next time you fall in love, what happens is that it is like your real love. You find your real love the third time, but it is so unconscious, so unplanned that even you yourself are not expecting it. That maybe you encounter somebody and just unexpectedly fall for them, and there's really no clear reason for that kind of love. You want to impress them, and that other person wants to impress you as well. You just fall for that. And you truly feel that the spiritual connection you were missing is now there with that person. You experience a new feeling with them. Now, whatever is going on with you, when you say something, the other person understands it without you having to explain, or they respond with the same intensity and on the same wavelength, doing everything in just the same way. So this third kind of love that happens in our lives, that is survival, because now you don't want to impress anyone and you don't want to be impressed by anyone either. You get real. You present yourself to people as your real self, just as you are, and that's how you show yourself to them. And then automatically your own development starts to happen. And in this kind of love, there is no possessiveness either, like I have to possess this person. And this is sometimes referred to as what people call the soulmate, or the idea of a soulmate. So you might at some point in your life find your soulmate, perhaps at a later stage, maybe in your late 20s, 30s, or even 40s. But by that time, things in your life have often become so occupied, your life is so filled with responsibilities and commitments, that you might not, even though you do form a meaningful connection and everything starts to move forward in a positive direction, you feel very safe and comfortable with somebody, you feel really good and happy with them, you want to give your time, you want to take your time, you want to spend a lot of time together, but sometimes the timings, the schedules have become very different and difficult to align. When some people find this kind of love in their lives, even then, most of the time, they end up finding some reason or another, saying something or the other, and move towards ending it as well. But they are the very fortunate people who get this. People who find their soulmate or experience this kind of love where they don't need to impress anyone, where they don't have to worry about saying something that might upset the other person, are truly very lucky. They just get real as they are, and in this way they accept each other as they are. Be sure to tell us in the comments of the video which stage of love you are currently at and what kind of love you have experienced so far. Love is a very beautiful attachment. It always gives you positive energy. It always keeps you positive. But there is definitely pain in it as well. However, at the same time, if you find the right person, you don't feel this pain. So try not to chase after everyone. Don't assume that every little thing where you feel attraction is actually love. Wait. Within 2 or 3 months or 4 months, everything will become absolutely clear to you, whether it's just infatuation or something more. After that, you can decide for yourself whether you want to enter into this relationship or not. Take care of yourself. We'll meet again in a new video with a new topic. Until then, goodbye.